They called Eran a monster because he chose freedom over mercy. But when the whole world becomes your cage, tell me this, would you stay human or keep moving forward? He watched his home burn, his people die, and his future get stolen piece by piece. Everyone he loved paid the price. So tell me, how long can a man bleed in silence before he becomes the enemy of the world? He didn't wake up as a monster. He didn't choose cruelty. He didn't dream of blood. At first, Eran only wanted freedom. Freedom to breathe without fear. Freedom to walk without walls. Freedom to live without begging the world for permission. But the world answered his dream with chains. Every step forward cost him someone. Every truth he learned shattered another illusion. Heroes died. Villains smiled. And the ones who survived were forced to carry guilt heavier than death. Eran realized something most people never do. The world is not fair. The world is not kind. And the world does not reward innocence. Silence surrounded him. Friends looked at him with doubt. Enemies called him a devil. And that's when it hit him. If I stay pure, I lose. If I stay kind, they erase us. If I hesitate, everyone I love disappears. That realization hurts. Because it's the moment you understand that good intentions are not enough. The world doesn't care how soft your heart is. The world only reacts to power, resolve, and action. Eran stood at the edge of fate and finally asked the question no one wants to ask. If the world already sees me as the villain, why should I keep pretending to be a hero? That's the moment innocence dies. Not loudly, not dramatically. It dies quietly, inside the chest. He saw the future, not hope, not peace. Blood, loss, destruction. And instead of running from it, he accepted it. Because sometimes the scariest truth is this: you don't become strong by choosing the right path. You become strong by choosing the path no one else can carry. Eran realized freedom isn't given. Freedom is taken. Not with speeches, not with prayers, but with unyielding will. He understood that waiting for justice is a luxury the weak can't afford. And hesitation? Hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever will. That's when his eyes changed. Not with rage, but with clarity. A calm more terrifying than anger. He stopped asking, "Is this right?" and started asking, "Is this necessary?" Because when survival is on the line, morality becomes a battlefield. This wasn't madness. This was resolve, sharpened by suffering. And in that moment, Eran Yeager stopped being a boy chasing freedom. He became the man willing to carry the weight of the world's hatred so others could live. After that day, Eran stopped asking for permission. No speeches, no explanations, no apologies. Because when you've seen the end, fear has no power over you anymore. The same world that once caged him now stood small in his eyes. He walked forward while everyone else hesitated. Friends questioned him. Enemies mocked him. But doubt no longer lived in his heart. Eran learned a brutal truth. If you hesitate, someone else decides your fate. If you stay silent, the world writes your ending. So he chose to speak with action. Each step he took was heavy. Not because he was weak, but because he knew exactly what it would cost. Sleep didn't come easily. Smiles disappeared. Laughter became a memory. But his will became unbreakable. He trained not just his body, but his mind. He learned to stay cold while the storm raged inside. He learned to smile while carrying the weight of genocide-level choices. He learned that strength isn't loud. Strength is calm. Strength is moving forward even when your heart is screaming for you to stop. Eran didn't become ruthless overnight. He became ruthless because mercy failed him. Because every time he trusted the world answered with betrayal. And so he hardened his resolve. If I don't move, they die. If I don't choose, someone else will. If I fall back, everything ends. This wasn't rage anymore. This was calculated purpose. He accepted that he would be hated, that he would be hunted, that his name would be cursed. But hatred is lighter than regret. And Eran chose the burden that lets you keep walking. That's the moment he stopped being reactive and became inevitable. Not a hero, not a villain. A force moving in one direction, forward. Because once you decide to keep moving, nothing can truly stop you, even the world itself. There comes a moment when pain stops screaming. It doesn't disappear, it doesn't heal, it just becomes quiet. That's when you know you've crossed the line. Eran didn't feel anger anymore. Anger burns fast and dies. What replaced it was worse. Clarity. He understood something most people never will. Pain is only unbearable when you resist it. Once you accept it, it becomes fuel. Every loss carved him deeper. Every betrayal sharpened his focus. Every death erased another weakness. He stopped asking, "Why me?" Because the answer didn't matter. The only question left was, what must be done? While others cried over the past, Eran studied the future. He saw endings no one else could see, paths no one else would walk, and knowing the end didn't break him, it freed him. Freedom isn't happiness. Freedom is responsibility without escape. To move forward even when you hate the path. To choose action when silence would be easier. He carried the weight alone because, if everyone understood, no one would have the strength to continue. So he became distant, cold, unreadable, not because he stopped caring, but because caring too much makes you hesitate. And hesitation kills. He learned to lock his emotions behind steel walls, to smile without warmth, to speak without revealing the storm inside. People thought he lost his humanity. They were wrong. He sacrificed it. There's a difference, because the most dangerous person isn't the one who feels nothing. It's the one who feels everything and still moves forward. Eran became that person. No tears left, no fear left, only direction. Forward, always forward. At first, they laughed. They called him reckless. They called him emotional. They called him a child chasing freedom. But monsters are never born in darkness. They are built brick by brick, loss by loss, betrayal by betrayal. Every time the world told Eran, "Stay in your place," it tightened the chains. Every time they chose comfort over truth, they pushed him closer to the edge. And one day, the edge disappeared. That's when the fear started. Not loud fear, not screaming fear, the quiet kind. The kind that makes generals stop talking. The kind that makes enemies hesitate. because Eran stopped reacting. He started deciding. He no longer asked permission from the world that broke him. He didn't seek approval from people who benefited from his silence. He understood a brutal truth. If the world won't let you be free, it will call you a monster the moment you try. So he accepted the name. Monster, devil, enemy of humanity. Labels are easy. Responsibility is heavy. And Eran carried it alone. While others argued about right and wrong, Eran asked a different question. Who will survive if I don't move? That's when the ground began to shake. Not just earth beliefs, ideals cracked. Heroes hesitated. Villains prayed. Because this wasn't rage anymore. This was conviction. The scariest force in any world is a man who has already lost everything and still chooses to move forward. No threats could stop him. No guilt could slow him. No past could pull him back. He wasn't chasing destruction. He was protecting a future only he was willing to pay for. And that's when they realized the monster wasn't Eran. The monster was the world that forced him to become one. The question now wasn't, can he be stopped? It was, who will dare to stand in his way? Fear doesn't announce itself. It spreads, silently, like a shadow crawling over the world. Cities that once slept peacefully now wake up trembling. Not because Eran is nearby, but because they know he exists. Mothers hold their children tighter. Soldiers grip their weapons harder. Leaders speak softer, because fear has changed sides. For centuries, his people lived in terror walls, built not for protection, but for survival. Now the world finally understands that feeling, and they hate him for it. They call him cruel. They call him heartless. They say, there had to be another way. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. There is always another way when you're not the one being sacrificed. Eran knows this. That's why he doesn't smile. That's why his eyes look empty. Not because he feels nothing, but because he feels everything. Every scream echoes in his head. Every life weighs on his soul. But he keeps walking. Because turning back would mean everything his people suffered meant nothing. And that would be the real crime. This is the loneliness of leadership, the curse of vision. To see a future so clearly that no one else can understand why you chose it. Heroes are loved, villains are remembered. But Eran chose something worse, to be necessary. He became the sin others were too afraid to commit, and in doing so, he exposed the hypocrisy of the world. A world that kills quietly, but panics when violence has a face. A world that preaches peace while building weapons in the dark. So ask yourself this: if protecting your people meant the world would hate you forever, would you hesitate? Or would you keep moving forward even if history writes your name in blood? This is the moment. History stops being written by victors and starts being written by choices. Not clean choices, not heroic choices, ugly ones. Eran stands where no one else can, between extinction and damnation. Behind him, a people who just want to live. Ahead of him, a world that decided his people should never exist. There is no cheering crowd, no applause, only the sound of footsteps moving forward. Every step says the same thing. I know what this makes me. and I accept it. This isn't madness. This is clarity. The kind that comes when hope has failed too many times, when promises turned into graves. When mercy became a weakness the world exploited. Eran doesn't ask the world to forgive him. He asks it to remember. Remember who pushed first. Remember who stayed silent. Remember who benefited while others suffered. Because monsters don't destroy the world out of hatred. They are created when the world refuses to change. And as the earth trembles, as the sky darkens, as fate itself seems to hesitate, one truth becomes unavoidable. Freedom has a price. And Eran is willing to pay it. Not because he wants to, but because someone has to. This is the climax of every dream crushed. Every child who learned fear before hope. Every promise of someday that never came. And now the final question hangs in the air. When the world forces you into a corner and labels you a devil for standing up, do you kneel? Or do you move forward and change everything? In the end, Eran doesn't ask to be understood. He knows history is cruel to those who choose the harder path. Statues are built for heroes. Graves are dug for devils. And Eran accepts the grave. Because freedom was never meant to be pretty. It was never meant to be safe. Freedom is earned through pain, through sacrifice, through choices that break the heart. When the dust settles, the world will breathe again. Children will laugh, people will live, and most of them will never know what it cost. They'll sleep peacefully because someone stayed awake when the world was burning. They will curse his name while enjoying the future he secured. And maybe that's enough, because true freedom isn't about being praised. It's about making sure your people never have to beg again. So when you judge Eran, Yeager, don't ask if he was right or wrong. Ask yourself this: if the whole world stood against your freedom, would you have the courage to become the villain so your people could finally live? Comment your answer.